Or do you want to hit? All right, call meeting to order at 8:10. Let's do a roll call.
So I have CD1,
Present.
CD2, not showing, CD3, I know James St. John is online. I don't know if he has audio. I don't see a little microphone next to his name.
Okay.
No, muted.
All right, CD4, also not on. CD5,
Present.
CD6.
Here.
All right, we're waiting on CD7. CD8 will not be joining. CD9 is the same. CD10.
Here.
CD11.
Here.
Mr. Treasurer.
I'm here.
Secretary, I'm here. Mr. Vice Chair.
Present.
And Madam Chair.
Present.
All right, we are at 10 of 15. The mic is yours.
All right, very good. All right, let's everyone take a quick look at the agenda and let's get the agenda approved.
I move to approve.
Second, CD1.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion passes. And we need to approve our minutes from our December 2nd meeting. Any changes or corrections needed for the minutes? All right, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, Dan John.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone opposed? All right, minutes approved. All right, officer reports. I did send out my report earlier. One of the things I put in there, which David Norton already responded to, is I do send out emails and sometimes I get almost 0 responses. So sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself. So especially if it's something that I need you all to review, even if you want to send me a message separately saying, hey, I got it, I'm reading it, so that I know we're not getting to these meetings and no one has any idea what's going on, I would appreciate it. But other than that, I think everything in there is self-explanatory. Anyone else want to give a report that has not sent it out already? CD1?
Nothing to report other than conventions on Tuesday.
All right. CD2, did you have anything?
No, my report's going to be basically identical to James. So,
Okay.
sorry, I just got home, so I didn't have a chance to print one up.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you. All right, James, I saw your report. CD5, anything?
Nothing to report.
All right, CD6.
Nothing to report also.
Okay, CD7.
C7, nothing to report.
Yeah. All right. I believe CD10.
No report.
Okay, and CD11. I believe I saw you sent one out right before the meeting. So.
Yeah, but nothing to report.
Okay. Mr. Treasurer, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No.
Okay. All right. Secretary, anything?
Nothing. I've got it on the agenda for
Okay.
what I was going to talk about.
All right, and Mr. Vice Chair, did you want to add anything to your report?
No, I think it was sufficient.
Okay. All right, committee reports. 50th Anniversary Committee.
I have not had a chance to do anything with that yet.
Okay.
Guess that would be my report right now.
Okay. Thank you. All right, affiliate support. Anything to report?
Nothing to
All right. Robbie, anything you want to update us on for convention?
Yes. I've been getting a number of questions, so I figured I'd update everybody on everything that's going on, to sort of get that squared away. First, the things that have been done. Of course, we've got the venue, March 2nd, James Monroe's Highlands. Paul Bracco sent out an email to all of membership, letting them know about the time and date. I have had a few people ask me when the convention was, so I hope that email reached everybody. If it didn't, we might want to look into that.
Mr. Vice Chair? Sorry.
Oh, just once you're done, Robbie, just have a question.
Oh, sure. Is it specifically about that?
Nope.
Okay, all right. So far, we have confirmed 5 presidential candidates will be speaking that morning. Those presidential candidates are Michael Rechtenwald, Mike Tiermont, Chase Oliver, Jacob Hornberger, and Art Olivier. I've reached out to 2 additional ones, and I'm still waiting to hear from them. I'm hopeful, but realistically, we have 5 so far. Total vendors, we have 7 out of 12 vendor tables approved. We still need to get payment from everybody, but I can start shaking trees tomorrow to make sure everybody pays. We have the website is for pre-registration is basically finished. The thing that has been holding that up is a payment option. Basically, we wanted to make sure that people paid in advance when they were incurring an expense like lunch when they register. We don't want an issue like what Jason had, where some people ordered a lunch for the December convention and did not show up or pay for it. So I have a solution to that problem. I will get to that sort of. It sort of ties into what Dan John has on the agenda under new business. I have a rudimentary design for the mailer, the postcard, done. I will, I guess, talk to Jason about that. The hotels, we have 2 different hotels set up with 20-room blocks. The Sleep Inn and the Holiday Inn. I will say, if you intend to book your room, please do that soon, as some of the hotels are reaching out to us saying, hey, we haven't heard anything yet. So make sure you do book your room if you intend to stay overnight. And we are currently looking into a Friday night event for a fundraiser. I want to guarantee that we're going to have candidates there in order to spur interest for that before I bring that to you guys as an expense. I want to make sure that we can actually make money off of it and not go further into the red for it. Other than that, just a reminder, we do need to send out the mailer for this convention basically by the end of the month. I think it's actually by February 1st, but earlier than that would be preferable. And then I've just got some other little things that need to be done. Little expenses like name tags, convention literature, ballots, that kind of deal. I imagine I haven't priced that out fully. I imagine that can be handled by an e-vote if we need to add additional funds for that. That's an open question to the room.
Yes, we should be able to do that.
Okay. Right. Mr. Bracco, how can I help you?
So is there how close is the agenda to being finalized? I guess the business agenda at least.
So I noted your changes via Jen. And that's pretty much on both the pre-registration website and the mailer. Ready to go.
Is that website live?
It is not live at the moment, no.
Okay. Well, with the email thing, we can definitely send another email. If you like, I can make the distribution a little bit wider. I can't do anything about spam folders. That's people gotta check them.
Of course.
Just reminder from maybe myself more than anybody. After this meeting, let's circle up. I am actually going to an event next Saturday for a 501c4 that's probably would be fairly good for a vendor if they're willing. I don't know. I just want to get some vendor information to give to them.
All right. That's fair. The initial deadline we put on the vendor form is February 1st. We can revise that. I just put that on there, or the committee put that on there so that we would have like a definite cutoff point. Since we have not sold all the tables, we can definitely go beyond that. Is there anything I haven't touched on that anyone has questions on?
I don't think so. All right.
We'll need help. I'm sorry.
I said seeing none, I guess we can move on unless you want to add anything else.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was just going to add, when it comes time, guys, we definitely will, need more help on site at the convention. So if you want to volunteer your time for that, we would be very receptive to it.
All right. Let's move on to old business. Rage Against the War Machine, version 2. I know we had tabled this until this meeting. Gonna get a better idea of what this event was going to be like. I have not actually had anyone solicit me specifically to have the party support it. But if anyone would like to revisit this, if we can. If not, we can just let it rest. All right. Well, we will just let this issue go, and maybe if there's another event in the future, they can come and ask for support. All right, new business. Contract for petitioning. I was contacted by a Scott Kohlhaas, who was a member of LPVA many years ago, currently lives in Alaska. And he offered to do fundraising for us to help with our petitioning efforts. He sent a contract, and Mr. Bracco had questions, so then he revised the contract for everyone to look over. After speaking with Jason yesterday, I think we're going to try and revise this a little bit, but if anyone has any comments or questions, please let me know. Yes, Mr. Vice Chair.
So I believe that I want to say it was January 25th. So Thursday was the date in there of like if the contract isn't signed, then it's kind of done, like opportunity gone. If there's going to be a revision, well, I guess
The date would have to be revised, yes.
yeah, this would almost be maybe somewhat of a parliamentary inquiry. Is this something that would require a majority vote, or or is this the allocation of money? And the reason why I'm asking that is those are the things that we are allowed to have an e-vote for. And I want to see if approving or not voting, I guess, on this on the revised contract would be eligible for an e-vote.
If I can actually jump in, because this actually kind of ties in a little bit with the comment that I was going to make.
Right, Mr.
So yeah, appreciate it. So Scott had actually reached out to me earlier today. I saw it was a number I didn't recognize, so naturally I just sent it over to voicemail. But I'm going to call him back tomorrow and go over some of the issues and whatnot that I had with the contract in general. I personally would not be too worried about the date on there as the 25th. I mean, even if we just shifted everything to the right, that would be perfectly acceptable. I think that when it comes to whether or not we are allocating funds on this, the way that I read the contract is that the guy doesn't really get paid unless he raises money. So we're actually not expending any resources up front. We're just giving him a commission out of whatever it is that he pulls in. So I would actually argue that if folks have an issue with the way that the contract is written as it stands, now would be the time to bring up any points of interest or things like that. Like I said, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. And so, I mean, like I can share any concerns, questions, comments, etc. But I would say we're not spending any money out of our accounts. So hopefully it shouldn't actually need any approval. Over.
So, I mean, generally, are people in support of doing this?
My takeaway seems like it's pretty much free money. I mean,
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. So I mean, like that's that's the only reason why I can see why his commission percentage was as high as it is. For those who didn't actually read over the contract, he's requesting a 50% commission. So, but he's also there's been back and forth a little bit of miscommunication on what's going on with the limit. So initially, the contract stated that he would raise at least $30,000. Now, the way that I read that is if he raises $29,999, he doesn't get a commission. If he raises $30,000, that's when he gets his commission. So it provides that incentive for him to actually follow through on what it is that he claimed his metric to be. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, if that's what we're sticking with, then I'm 100% on board. If we go with this revised version of, we're going to pay him 50% no matter what up until 30,000, then I would say that's what we need to kind of reevaluate. I think that was a step backwards.
So one addition to this is that we will be paying expenses for him. So we'll be covering, his, like if he sends out thank you letters and stuff like that, it sounds like we'll be covering stuff like that, so we may want to put limitations. I mean, and this also just goes to like who this guy is and how trustworthy he is and what kind of guy he is. Like I know Bill Redpath was the guy that introduced him, and so he sounds pretty good. I do look at this as a great way for us to make money, so I'm very interested in it. And if we do want to adjust it, I mean, we could always do a tiered kind of system where we, if you want to incentivize him to get those further amounts, maybe we lower it to like you make 25% of it for the first, 5,000 and then start upping it until like, the last, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000, he's making 75% commission, but he was making far less of that before. So something to think about.
Sounds like a good idea. Mr. Bruce?
Actually, James he had his hand up first. I think I just beat him to the gesture.
All right, go for it, James.
I was gonna make a correction. I do believe the fees and stuff that you were associated are going to be on their portion of the funds raised. We're going to get 50%, and they're going to get the other 50% minus those fees that we do for sending letters and postage and whatnot. That's the way I understood the contract.
Actually, no. I think we are responsible for the incidentals. I think it'll be a minimum of 50%, provided that he actually hits that $30,000 mark. But just to kind of touch on what Dan was saying, like absolutely, I think that we should set up some form of limits, like a pot that is, just going to be for incidentals. We can set that up in like however it is, whatever that limit wants to be. But yeah, we definitely need to set limits on that. And that's, again, something that I was already planning on talking with him about tomorrow. Just kind of get an idea as to what he's thinking, what previous instances of him doing this has yielded. I did talk to Dr. Lark also. He also pointed me towards Bill Redpath. So everything kind of coming full circle in that sense. So but that was all I got.
Any other comments? All right, Jason, if you just want to get with me after you talk to him tomorrow, or he might send me an updated contract, but we will get it out to everyone once it's updated to review and vote on. Yes, James?
The line I'm reading here says client shall pay 50% of commissions to contractor, less expenses as outlined herein. So that means he's paying the fees. We're getting 50%. He's getting the 50% minus the fees.
Okay, well, that's better.
That's in compensation and method of payment, like the third line, I believe. At least that's the way I'm reading it.
Okay, well, we'll confirm that tomorrow. All right, any other comments on that from anybody? All right, let's move on. Our petition drive. So sent out links for petitions to all the members plus anyone else on our mailing list. I have already started collecting some at the event I went to, but I really could use some help on organizing this drive so that I don't have to keep track of everything. Whether we can have 3 point people throughout the state, maybe would be helpful. If anyone has any ideas on that or wants to volunteer? Yes, Mr. Vice Chair.
I volunteered to throw myself on this grenade, at least for the Northern Virginia part of the state.
Okay, thank you.
Jen,
Hmm?
are you asking for, I'm sorry, I was tabbed out. Are you asking for volunteers for petitioning?
Just to help kind of keep track of all the people that are gathering signatures and have kind of a central place for people to turn them in once they're notarized. So,
Oh.
you know, having, you know, Paul in Northern Virginia and someone in the western part of the state would be helpful. And
I'm not jumping on the grenade for Central Virginia, but I might have somebody who would.
okay, and that's fine. If you know people that would be interested in helping, just give them my contact info. If we manage to get a lot of money from our fundraising, I will just call Bob Lynch and he can help us too. He is definitely wanting to help us, but I need to make sure we have the money to pay him first. Any other comments or questions on our petition drive? All right, let's move. Oh, Mr. Bracco, yes.
It's just some experience from 2020. If you are able to get to any polling place on Super Tuesday, that was hugely productive. Not only just a lot of people who are at least somewhat interested in politics. You know, when you're standing at a polling place, everybody who walks by you, you know what district they're from, you know what town they're from, or city or county or whatever it is. There's no need to ask them any of that. You just have your one sheet. Everybody signs that sheet, and it's much simpler. So, just a suggestion there.
And you know they're a registered voter.
Yes, that was definitely.
Oh, that too. Yes.
With the Republican primary now being down to 2 people, I guess it depends on how long Nikki Haley stays in, whether or not Super Tuesday will be well attended for voters. But we will also have the primary on June 18th to do the same thing.
When is Super Tuesday again?
Super Tuesday is March 5th. So the Tuesday right after our convention. So, all right. Anything else? All right. State Fair. So the State Fair for 2024 is September 27th through October 6th. With us having a presidential candidate this year, it would definitely be beneficial for us to have a booth at the State Fair. And I thought starting now, at least having 1 or 2 people that would like to take on this effort would be helpful, because it involves staffing the booth with at least 2 people for the entirety of the fair, which we have been able to do in the past, but it is very cumbersome, and you basically have to beg people to volunteer. So I know that Carl was interested in doing this last time, but we were not successful in securing enough people to volunteer in order to make it successful. So I can ask him again. Is there anyone else that would be interested in helping with that?
I know Amity Pickerel had also expressed interest for this past year. I'll engage with her. We have a meeting this upcoming Tuesday anyway, so I'll see her then.
Okay, thank you. The sooner we get started on that, the better. So, I know it seems like a long ways away. All right, Mr. Treasurer, you wanted to add a PayPal account or discuss adding one?
Yes, I added this after discussing this with Robbie. It should ease some problems that he's having. And Robbie, would you like to explain what's how it'll benefit us?
Yes, and keep in mind, I'm saying this being the guy who was telling other people, hey, PayPal and Venmo are evil, considering the events of past years. But it makes it a heck of a lot easier on the website end to collect payment. To have a PayPal account that it can process through that, as opposed to referring people to, we were having some issues referring people to our Zelle account, and our website has its own issues that I don't want to get into at the moment. But this would sort of speed up the process and make it very easy when people are doing pre-registration to pay us.
Mr. Bruce.
Hey, Robbie, is this one of those situations where it's just like it's like one of the integrations within Wix that just makes PayPal so much easier? Because I know that they also have like an HTML or CSS block. And I wonder, I mean, Lawrence, I saw you jumped on the call, probably much to your dismay now, but this seems like something that, if a PayPal account is where we need to go with it, or if it's just like, coming up with some little widget or pulling your coding expertise or something like that, if that would be easier. Because I do know that PayPal charges some relatively high fees, and we need to make sure that somebody is picking those fees up, because it's otherwise it'll fall on us. So that was just my question left over.
So from where I'm sitting here, the screen I'm looking at, it's 2.9% per transaction. In terms of this instance specifically, I am trying to factor that into the cost of what they're registering for. In terms of the website, it's either we go, if you want the payment on the website, which is kind of the easiest way to go about it, we either need to do PayPal or Wix Pay, and I think PayPal is a much more versatile situation. We can actually use it in other situations other than that. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Lawrence, could you chime in with a little bit on that HTML CSS block or anything like that, just so we're covering all the bases?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I have not reviewed the specific details, so I cannot speak intelligently until I do so. I do know that there are a multitude of options here. Typically, Stripe integration is what's used for taking credit card payments on a website. That has a cost associated with it as well. And with PayPal, instead of paying that up front for integration, you pay it per transaction. So the question is, do you want to pay a small amount of each transaction or just pay once to integrate Stripe or another option for payment? Does that make sense?
Man, I appreciate it. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Cool, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
If we're taking motions on whether or not we should, I mean, do we need to have a motion to start a PayPal account? Is that?
I would think so. Just to like authorize me to go forward and make one.
This is Paul Bracco. I move that we start a PayPal account.
This is Jason. I'm going to second that.
All right, been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Do we need 2/3 vote on this? I don't know. This is technically not money.
I think I would argue a majority vote. This is really just something that affects day-to-day operations.
Okay. All right. Well, anyone opposed to the motion? All right. Hearing none. Dan, go forth and make a PayPal account.
Will do. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Secretary, proposal for organizational additional skill identifier. I did look at the proposal that you sent. Do you want to put that up on the screen?
Yes, I'll do that. 1 second. All right, so as everybody knows, I've kind of spoken about it before. I think something that would really kind of help us out as an organization is to kind of become a little bit more organized. To do that, I mean, even like Robbie and Lawrence were just talking about, everything has a cost to it. But right now, what we have are a lot of very disparate entities that we have to work with, and some that just don't work for us at all. Chief among which is the website, which is hosted through the LNC CRM, and it's just terrible. There's a lot of options that we have out there. One of the things that I specifically ran down is through the Zoho platform. So what they have are a number of different integrations, and these are the ones here that I've kind of put together in this slideshow that I think would be the best for us and kind of what we get out of it. So just in general, like before we even kind of kick all that off, like this first slide here is just kind of like an overall of how I see or how I kind of view the organization as it could break down when it comes to utilizing some of these tools, just so that we can kind of minimize. You know, we're not doing the CRM thing where we just give everybody who asks or shows a need for it an account. You know, you have to actually be doing something that is worthwhile, is going to give us some value. So just in general, I've kind of broke out some committees here that I think that we need to focus on for this upcoming year. And then on the right-hand side, this is really just an overall breakdown of some of the integrations that I thought were good. Total of all of this is around $1,100, around $1,400 if we went with everything to include the optional e-commerce site. That's just really kind of like for fundraising if we wanted to start selling t-shirts and things like that. With the social media site, there's basically an integration here for 10 channels, one-stop shop, just mass blasted out. These are kind of all of the things that you get with it. $10 a month, $120 a year. To me, this seems like it's worth it because a lot of our affiliates, right, let's say like Central Virginia and that largely because we just don't have a social media coordinator. I think this kind of helps us along with that. Campaign, this is basically like MailChimp. It's free. You can go up to 2,000 contacts. You can send out 6,000 emails a month. To me, this is a no-brainer. It's free. Sites, this one I really, really like, and I'm really kind of impressing upon it. I specifically called out here on this one for the pro version. It allows us to have 50 pages, which means that LPVA as a parent organization can host websites for every single one of our affiliates. To me, this is a huge win. $200 a year plus whatever the cost is for the domain. That domain then carries across everything else because we're going to jump into like mail and email and stuff like that. So blog posts, there's integrations for CRM forms, also social networking, auto publishing, newsletters, all of this stuff. By and large, I think that we've done kind of a poor job over the last probably like 5 to 8 years of doing outreach, using some of the funding that we have available to us right now to get these tools to help work for us, I think kind of closes that gap. E-commerce, I kind of touched on this a little bit. $264 a year. If we wanted to jump into that realm of, again, like t-shirts and stickers and swag and other things, this is just for invoicing. This is largely to make Dan John's life a little bit easier. I know Dan's an accountant. He's got all kinds of like wild stuff, but we can't get to the point where we're going to have to rely on Dan in perpetuity for this organization's existence. So whoever it is that's going to wind up picking up the reins after him, having something that they can kind of have historical background context on, I think is a good idea. Again, it's free. To me, it's a no-brainer. Meeting Pro, this is $120 a year. Currently, I think we're paying for Zoom somewhere on the order of about $160. So this is already saving us money. There's a higher capability. So, and again, it integrates all within the workplace dashboard. Lastly, this is the email. So Workplace Standard provides not just the email account, but it also provides file storage and things like that. So like right now we have absolutely, like, I mean, our historical archives are so disparate, so dysfunctional, etc. Having a place to actually store all of this stuff, I think, is huge. So 15 users, that's going to be the SCC. So the SCC members, basicva.com, CD5 at lpava.com. You turn that over to whoever it is that takes over after you. We can talk more about kind of who controls the reins for all of this stuff, because I mean, even for me, as far as I'm concerned, we ran into this issue back, the other September. They shut down our website. We lost everything. So we'll need to find something, some sort of a, like a fail safe or a backup or something like that. But the other 7 users are going to be for committees. So those will just be email. They won't get any of the workplace stuff or anything like that. But I'm not going to propose necessarily today that we adopt all of this. But what I would like to do is just kind of get feedback, and if there's any interest that's generated from this, I can get a hold of Zoho and have them do kind of like a bang for a buck wise. So at that point, I'm gonna pause and take questions.
This
Question.
is Landry. Oh, go ahead.
So what's the total budget for this, and where does that budget coming from?
So LPVA would be covering this. This would be out of our existing funds. So we would need to, once we get to the point of actually approving this, we'll do a vote to appropriate funding. As it stands in its current form, the maximum here with e-commerce site and all that is $1,388 per year. And I did a generic $20 per year for the domain. I know a lot of places the domains are cheaper. But if we wanted to switch it up from LPVA to something else, then, pay for the domain. So that was just this is the overall breakdown that I got for it. And I did neglect to mention with the meeting, this is scalable. I went with the version that gives us 100 participants. There are others that are cheaper. So like, for instance, if we just did 50 participants, that would be less money. I want to say that one was like $70 a year, $76 a year, something like that. But yeah, so LPVA would be footing the bill for this. Over.
Next question. Who's responsible for implementing and maintaining this system?
Yep. So right up here, I'm going to go with this guy. We'll have it. Yeah, no, man, I get it. I know where you're coming from on this. So one of the things that I will say when it comes to Zoho, I mean, and you can kind of speak a little bit to this as well. I know we talked about this before. It's a little user friendly. It's pretty user friendly. So I think a lot of this stuff, I mean, maybe we need IT support. Maybe, we just have somebody that helps us out with the website to, do whatever. But yeah, I mean, in general, we're always going to need some semblance of IT support, and having everything in one place rather than having many things in many places, I think just kind of makes the job a little bit easier.
I'll speak to this. In theory, I'm 100% in support of everything that you've spoken on. In practicality, there are more steps to the implementation than just what has been discussed here. So the devil is, as always, in the details of things. Although I am a fan of Zoho, I do have a preference for ClickUp, which pretty much is very similar. There really isn't a bad option amongst the major options in this space. I think ClickUp has some more extended capabilities, but more specifically, it's what I'm used to because it's what my company uses. So if I'm going to be responsible for an implementation of a CRM program, I'd rather be working with something that I already know.
Just real quick, and I'm gonna kick over to Landrick, but I like ClickUp too, but ClickUp is more of a project management style tool. That being said, yeah, of course, there's always going to be bumps and hiccups, things like that. There's a learning curve to everything. So yeah, I'm not in disagreement with you, and that's why I'm not asking us to vote on it today. But I definitely want to, have you and I chat a little bit more and chat a little bit more with Zoho, because getting that implementation part down, I think, that'll be a little bit of a hurdle. But once we've kind of cleared that, I'm hoping that we can just we can run a little bit from there. So, but yeah, Landrick, you had a question?
Actually, I have a comment. Lawrence pretty much asked my question. I'm a retired IT pro, and so I can be part of that committee if you like. Regarding items like the state fair, I know this is a little after we've gone past that. I can't really commit to time, long periods of time, because of the responsibilities that I have at church. So, but I can do things offline and asynchronous.
Awesome, thanks, man, for sure. And yeah, we're definitely on the IT support right now. It's basically Lawrence, so I'm sure he'll take any help that he can get. We definitely appreciate it. So once we kind of get a little bit closer to locking something down, we'll reach back out and get a couple of you guys really smart on the overall implementation process and everything.
And Jason, this would completely take us out of the CRM, correct?
No.
So
that's the thing that I did want to impress upon, is that this is not I specifically did not go with the CRM version that Zoho has. Zoho does have its own native CRM. I want to say it was somewhere around the order of like $50 to $60 per user per month. So it was pricey, it's pricey considering that we don't pay for it through the Nationals version. And while there's probably a way for us to integrate like through the payments and all of that other stuff, I would say that that juice might not be worth the squeeze.
okay.
So I would say that we would still need to use national CRM for things like accrediting or credentialing and stuff like that. But if we really wanted to, we could probably get like maybe one or two user accounts and do the Zoho CRM, set that all up exactly how we want it, 100% across the board. And that would probably be my recommendation.
Okay. I'm just trying to get away from our current problem where people get an error when they try and send us money.
Well, yeah, I get it.
So this wouldn't solve that problem.
Well, I mean, again, like I said, we could definitely look at getting like 1 or 2 user accounts for it. I think that that would probably scratch that itch. But yeah, I mean, well, to be honest, I don't know. Might be a question for a later date because, now we're talking about integrations between the bank account and the national website. If we completely change the website to something different and we still have that route to our bank account, yeah, it'll have to get stored somewhere, but I don't have an answer to that question. I would imagine we're probably still going to be somewhat reliant on the national CRM. Even if we did adopt the Zoho CRM for LPVA, there's still going to wind up being stragglers that use the old link. So,
True.
food for thought.
Let me chime in. Just to remind everyone, National is working on a new CRM. And once that rolls out, that's going to change everything that we do at the state level as well.
I hadn't heard that they were including the states with that change. Did they change that?
So right now, the way everything is structured is our state level CRM access is tied to the national CRM. When the national CRM changes, it's going to cause a cascading change that will filter down because states will no longer have access to the Civi CRM. So I believe, and I could be mistaken, I haven't looked at it recently, that the change at the national level will also precipitate a change for all 50 states.
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Did they provide any sort of timeline on this? Because I know that this is one of those things that they've been talking about for a few years now.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. This kind of enterprise resource migration is probably going to take years, especially with past history informing current events. I would not expect that to be quick. And that's why I am in support of coming up with an interim solution. But bear in mind that whatever we come up with, it's probably going to be just that, interim.
Lawrence, you actually just kind of made me think of another question here. So since you have a little bit of experience with the Zoho platform, if we were to use that with respect to the CRM, is there a way that we could essentially map field to field to whatever that enterprise solution is that Nationals is going to come up with? So like if we set up, our CRM exactly how we want it, can we then just be able to, once they're ready to roll their stuff out, integrate that or do a data import export type of deal through Zoho?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give you a theoretical answer and I'm going to give you a practical answer. The theoretical answer to your question is yes, that's the way it's supposed to work. Then my practical answer is that's what screwed up the Civi migration from Edge. The tables did not match up. And so when the database was ported into Civi, the fields ported incorrectly, which is what is causing Civi to not work properly to begin with because of an improper or failed database migration. For this reason, the fields that are in Civi are corrupted, which means that if they attempt to migrate Civi to a new database, a new CRM, the data will still be corrupted unless there is a data cleanup project that is implemented, which I have not yet seen them discuss. So even in the event of the migration to the new CRM, I suspect that the corrupted data will be corrupted. Does that answer your question?
It does. My takeaway is yes, I'll get some estimates for the Zoho CRM as well.
Very good. Now, while we're on this subject, I'll mention something that I had mentioned privately to Jen previously. I have a startup company that is in this space. I'm just too busy to do anything, but I had intended to work on exactly this problem. I'm probably still months away from being able to get where I want to be, though.
Speaking?
Yes.
This is John with Enterprise at Columbia Regional Airport.
What can I do for you? Hey, James, you got a hot mic, buddy. All right, go ahead, Lon.
Okay. I just implemented ClickUp for my own personal business, so I am infinitely more familiar with it than I am with Zoho. And I have a person who did a ClickUp enterprise resource migration, so I could use the same assets that I already have in place. And that's the reason why I was suggesting ClickUp versus Zoho. I do like Zoho, as it is actually one of the options that I looked at. And I decided not to go with Zoho because I believe ClickUp is a superior option. But it's apples and oranges. It's not too terribly different. It's still a good option, and I still like it. However, when you're doing this level of a project, you reduce the complexity of implementation substantially when you use a product that you've already implemented in the past. Repetition gives you familiarity, and familiarity gives you speed and lack of errors. And anytime you can increase speed and decrease errors, these are all working in your benefit. So those are the operational concerns, operational value benefits of going with ClickUp versus Zoho, if that makes any sense. I had intended on coming up with a solution for this, as well as bringing some money to the table to implement that solution, but I'm still months away from being able to do that.
All right, thank you, Lawrence. All right. Well, lots to think about for sure. Do you want to add anything else, Mr. Bruce?
Nope. I will follow up with the with Zoho and just see if like they want to give us like a walkthrough, like a demo or anything like that. But otherwise, no, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any comments, concerns, questions? All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Anyone else have anything for the membership or SCC?
If not, I will motion to adjourn. It's Jason.
I'll second Dan John.
All right, motion and seconded. Anyone opposed? All right, meeting adjourned at 9:08 p.m.